estimated that 85% of the world's population is affected by mental health issues of anxiety, depression, and beyond. The economic burden of mental illness in Canada alone is estimated at $51 billion per year. Substance abuse costs our nation over $600 billion annually. Homelessness costs nearly $50 million across hospitals, shelters, social housing, justice systems, and rental supplements. And poverty costs Canada as a whole between $72 billion and $84 billion annually. If you do the math on that, it's costing us roughly about $735 billion annually in Canada alone. What is it costing on the global scale? How much of it is coming out of your pocket? Let's face it, you're slaving your ass off daily at a job that you most likely don't even want to go to, just so you can be living paycheck to paycheck. You're watching the cost of living increase, the cost of fuel to get back and forth to that job increase, your property taxes increase, and now your mortgage interest rates have most likely increased as well. And to top it all off, the more you work trying to increase your paycheck, the more the government takes in taxes. You most likely have your own set of mental health issues thanks to the anxiety and mounting depression of just trying to get ahead or stay above water. And the whole time you're seeing more and more people sitting back collecting welfare checks, and more of those people being able to fund their drug addictions, all at your expense. I know, it used to irritate me too, until I dug much deeper into it all. Let's take a look at a much bigger picture. Homelessness, poverty, addictions, and unemployment are large-scale problems. It affects all ages, cultures, and communities. And with governments making massive cuts across the board, it's not going to get better anytime soon. I live in a town of about 40,000 people. Within this town, the biggest source of employment is with car manufacturing factories. The majority of people working in these factories are hired through temp services, and this used to provide a decent living. Then our own factories decided to recruit from our capital city of Toronto. Population over 4 million. Besides putting many of our people out of work, it jacked up the prices of our rents and real estate as well. Our average home price for a 3-bedroom home was about $300,000. The average rent for a 3-bedroom used to be about $900 a month. Now, that same $300,000 home sells for about $700,000, and the minimum rent for a 3-bedroom is $1,500 a month plus utilities. Those prices might have been acceptable in Toronto, but here it's entirely too much. All of this has had a domino effect. It has created a housing crisis because most cannot afford the rents. It has caused a serious increase in homelessness and an increase in addictions and crime. Now, I did the education thing and studied to become a psychologist. Through that, I learned two big things. The first is that most people enter professions like psychology in order to fix themselves. People in mental health profession often struggle with the very same issues that they're trying to counsel their patients through. It makes for a very ineffective therapy. The other thing I learned was that psychology as a whole is incredibly ineffective. It teaches a static model of how to deal with people, and everything must fit neatly into this little box in order to help them. But human beings are not static models. We're constantly evolving. We pretty much just put a band-aid over things because we never really get to the root of the problem. It was from these realizations that I began to learn from some of the brightest minds on the planet. Over the years, I've had the privilege of learning from people like Tony Robbins, Robin Sharma, Rich Litvin, Steve Chandler, and Vishen Lakhiani. I had my own life coaches, business coaches, relationship coaches, and spiritual coaches so that I could transcend my own limited mindset in order to effectively teach others. I only teach from my own transformations. For the last 7 years, I've been volunteering in an outreach house. It's a 4-bedroom house situated in a government geared to income housing complex. Within this complex, there are 29 units. Over 90% of the residents work, but can't afford to live anywhere else. And the wait list for available units is currently at 6 to 7 years. Now I know you're thinking, they're geared to income, how are they suffering? The reality is that when you're in a geared to income housing and you're working, your rent is based on 30% of your gross income. When you do the math, that actually works out to be almost 50% of your net income. Because the system doesn't truly care about all the deductions to your paycheck and income. So with the remaining 50% of their income, they too have to pay utilities, groceries, fuel back and forth to work, or in some cases, public transit, and much of the same expenses you pay just to survive. That leaves almost nothing to save in order to move out and go anywhere in life. And on top of this, when a resident's child reaches the age of 18, if they're no longer in school, they too now are obligated to get a job at minimum wage and pay rent according to their incomes, alongside their parents. At 18 years old, they're still technically kids mentally and emotionally. They're not ready to be shoved into the adult world like that. Let's talk about the ones who receive welfare benefits. I know it's easy for us all to think that people who receive welfare have made a career out of collecting an easy paycheck, but that's not usually the case. Within the communities I work with, we find we have a few different scenarios. We have single moms whose partners left and they're now raising the kids alone. Many of those kids are under school age. Many of those women don't receive child support payments, even though they're forced to go through government agencies like the Family Responsibility Office to collect and pay out those funds. And while these women actually want to go out and work, not only are daycare spaces limited, the cost of daycare is too high for them. At the end of the week, they quite literally would have nothing left out of their paycheck after paying for daycare alone. We also see many people who should be on disability incomes that are continually refused disability. If you have a mental or learning disability, your chances of being accepted tend to be higher. If you have a physical disability, our government tells us, and I quote, "If you can get out of bed on your own and dress yourself on your own, you are not disabled." I've seen people who worked construction fall from a few stories and break their backs and be denied disability. I've seen many cases where the person should have been accepted for disability benefits, yet they're denied. So where do these people end up? They can't physically work, so they end up in receipt of welfare. And what about our military veterans? How many of them have put their lives on the line defending not only us, but our government, only to end up either on welfare or homeless? And this alone blows my mind. We have military members whose ass is in the grass on the front lines, not knowing from minute to minute if they're going to live to see another day. They go through the psychological trauma of war and destruction every day. And I'm talking about the ones who are actually being deployed in active combat. These men and women are defending our countries, our governments, and our individual rights and freedoms daily. And yet, we place a higher value on entertainment. We have athletes and actors being paid millions of dollars per year to entertain us, to numb us from our reality, and yet the lives of our active duty military is worth about $40,000 a year if they're lucky. And we're telling them as well that they have to pay for their own medical insurance while on deployment. And if they're shot, wounded, and end up in a hospital in another country while they're on that deployment, that they get a portion of that bill as well. Oh, and when they come home and they're ready to retire, well, have fun with that one, because we're going to pay you only a portion of what you were making as a soldier. Our government makes a few $100,000 a year in salary. They take vacations at our expense, lifestyles at our expense. Like our own Prime Minister's trip to India, they estimated at $1.5 million in taxpayer dollars. You tell me that our government, our athletes or actors are worth more than our active duty and retired military. Why are we not stepping up to protect them the way they protect us? We thank them for their service and for defending us, but are we as a nation even worthy of being defended? Let that sink in. And think about that the next time we judge someone on welfare, because it very well could be one of our veterans or their families. So let's talk about this outreach house for a minute. At this outreach house, it's run by a local government agency. It offers many programs for kids, adults, and families. We have many community partner organizations that also offer different programs. We have a community closet that services anyone in town for free. We accept donations of new and used clothing, and anyone who needs them can come and take what they need. We do a free breakfast program before school on Mondays and Thursdays. We offer healthy relationship programs for teens and parenting programs for adults. There are many useful and needed programs offered here at the Outreach House. But because this house is run by a government agency, it is also undergoing service and funding cuts. It's even at the risk of closing. And this is one of the 2 others that are running in other cities as well. But this house can only help a limited number of people when you look at the bigger picture. It also doesn't combat the bigger picture issues we're facing. Because the government is cutting so much funding from every organization and service imaginable, we're now forced to turn to local corporations, businesses, and individuals to help support these necessary programs. All year round, we're out there canvassing to raise money to keep the doors open. And at Christmas time, we're out there canvassing our local corporations, manufacturing companies, and businesses to help buy gifts for families in need. We are literally asking their workers to take even more money from their paychecks to buy gifts for another family, on top of the gifts they need to buy for their own families. We are asking them to help buy food for food drives on top of the groceries they are already buying to support their own households. It's insanity. We should not have people in this country living below poverty. We should not be taking more money from the working class and businesses to help those in need. We have governments that are elected who are supposed to make a difference. Governments who are taxing people to death and who are not allocating the money properly. We as a society are blaming the wrong people for all of this. Yes, you as a taxpayer pay taxes. You as a business owner or a corporation already pay enough taxes. Why are we relying on you to keep our communities and economies functioning? No, we shouldn't be seeing an increase in homelessness, addictions, and people on the welfare system. But if we're all paying so much in taxes, why is it all increasing and not decreasing? All of this happens at a government level. But poverty itself is the result of conditioning and damaged mindsets and faulty education systems. Poverty is a learned behavior that begins at home and then is carried on throughout our school system. Our school systems don't teach us anything about money or poverty consciousness, and they can't, because governments dictate what they can and can't teach. We are taught to become employees in school. We are taught to remain poor. We are not taught about budgeting or investments, and we are not taught about money. And if our parents didn't learn about it, then what did they pass on to us as well? Because you can only teach what you know. We are not taught to follow our passion and purpose. We're not taught to become entrepreneurs. Sure, they can teach us in university about business, the mechanics of it, but they aren't teaching you the mindset and discipline of being an entrepreneur. You see, I know this one firsthand. I'm not just into psychology. I started marketing on the internet back in 1998 when the internet was still brand new. I started that because I love dissecting things and knowing how they work. I didn't want to just hire someone to build my websites so I could reach more people. I learned to build my own. I learned how to do my own graphics, my own SEO, my own marketing, and how to lose a ton of money. I eventually went on to become certified in digital marketing as the internet evolved. What I learned along the way is that being an entrepreneur is a mindset, not a title. And it takes one hell of a tough personality to survive. You are going to fail a lot before you see success. You are going to lose a lot of money along the way as you try to figure it all out. You are going to be pushed to your physical and mental limits, and only the strong will continue to push forward and see success. But our school systems can't and won't teach any of that. We live in a soft society. We promote the fast food culture. We want everything now without any real effort. An entire industry has been created around it now on the internet. Lose weight without effort. Just take a magic pill and watch the fat melt off. Make money while you sleep without effort. Just push a button and watch money roll in. We have created a society of entitled, lazy individuals who don't want to put forth the effort to succeed at anything. I do not know of one business person who got where they are today by sitting on their ass and expecting everything to be handed to them. It required a serious amount of effort. It required an extreme mental overhaul to transcend the current thinking, behaving, and action patterns that they were used to when they first started out. It required being willing to risk it all, putting up with others laughing at your dreams and trying to tear you down. It required going through the anxiety, the depressive states, and either pushing through it or throwing in the towel. Yet, we have created a society who now thinks that success in anything is easy. It's their birthright and should be handed to them. We have created an education system that simply passes kids through without failing them any longer. Without failure, there is no success. We have created a culture of parents who are in teachers' faces for being too hard on their kids. Well, the real world is hard. Kids are going to hear some things they won't like, and mommy isn't always going to be there to wipe the tears. What happened to the days where we got up at 5 a.m. and went into the barns to do our chores, went to school and actually worked in order to pass a class, came home and went back into the barns to work before supper? We didn't have a social life during the week because we were too busy working with our parents to keep a roof over our heads, learning the value of hard work on the farm. At 14, I wanted a real job. I took my bike and I pedaled my ass every morning 7 miles into town to babysit for money. At 15, I was out in the tobacco fields busting my ass for a paycheck. At 16, I asked my dad for $5 to go to a school dance. He made me take out that lawnmower and go cut 2 acres of our lawn. That same year, I wanted my driver's license. I was told that if I wanted to drive, I was going to be the one to pay for my license and buy my own car. Nothing was handed to me, and I thank my father and everyone who contributed to those lessons. We have created a culture that sets people up to fail. Why? Because no one teaches us how to end the cycle of poverty and transcend the mindset to become wealthy and free. It was these realizations that led me to create Ascend You in order to target the root cause of the problem, the limited mindset, rewiring the brain to transcend poverty mentality first, and learning not only how to manage money, but also teaching people how to build sustainable and scalable wealth. At first, I was going to take everything I know, everything I've taught in coaching sessions, and turn it into an online course and charge for the information. Most of this information has been taught through weekend retreats, small group sessions with just 8 people that cost about $5,000 each, plus travel and accommodations. And while those group coaching retreats are powerful, they really are out of reach financially for a lot of people. If the goal is to transcend poverty, then the information should be accessible to as many people as possible. That's why I decided to offer it free globally through different channels to reach the maximum amount of people. I will be releasing it on YouTube channel, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and through the Alexa home devices. Why these channels? If you know anything about business and marketing, then you know that we live in a video-obsessed culture. We reach more people by video than by print. And now, as everything evolves, we are now turning into a voice search and Alexa briefings to get our information delivered to us. Because the reality is that no matter how much poverty there is out there, everyone still has a cell phone to watch videos on. And more homes have more than one Google Home, Alexa, or Echo device. Humanity now wants information delivered through these channels at the touch of a button. So I will be delivering what they need to transcend their damaged poverty consciousness in the way they want it delivered. We begin with clearing the obstacles that stand between you and a legendary life. Throughout our lives, we have individually been programmed by our parents, society, peers, the media, our government, and our religions on how to think, behave, react, take action, or not take action in specific ways. We run these autopilot programs that are very destructive. Until we learn to see the programs we've been running and adopt new thinking, nothing will really change. We just remain in the same way of damaged thinking, the same damaged way of reacting, and we get the same damaged results. There are 9 common obstacles that get in everyone's way. I'm going to tackle each of these 9 debilitating thinking obstacles and begin to rewire the mind for success and abundance. We're going to talk about why we are programmed to be poor, how the brain works to create reality, billionaire morning rituals, and the powerful habits of all billionaires. 95 to 99% of our lives come from programming in the subconscious mind. 95% of our day, we're sabotaging our lives to make sure that we don't deserve things, because that's the programming that has been accepted throughout our lives. There are 3 ways we can change the programming rather easily. The fastest way is with energy psychology, specifically EFT, or emotional freedom technique. And this can change a belief that we've had our entire lives in about 15 to 20 minutes. It creates a state of super learning, like when we're a child. So I begin with the mindset, uncovering the damaged programming that they've bought into, and then I hold them accountable for their thought patterns and choices, helping them to change those patterns and make more empowering choices to create new realities. No more excuses, no one else to blame. Afterwards, I will be partnering with other professionals in the financial areas to teach budgeting, savings, and investments, how to take what you currently have and protect it, how to set a solid financial foundation underneath you, because money is nothing more than a tool. It's great to have, but if you don't know how to make it work for you, you're going to end up struggling. From there, I'm going to introduce different ways to make money and create a sustainable future. Most of this will consist of building a business on the internet. Now, there are so many business opportunities floating around the internet, most of which promote the do nothing and get rich overnight mentality. Our inboxes are jammed full of the newest shiny objects peddled by marketers who don't truly care about the end user. They care about increasing their own bank accounts. We see new programs and opportunities daily about building wealth on the internet. Most of these programs cost between $1,000 to $5,000, and they truly aren't even worth more than $10. With most of them, once you buy the initial program that promises to help you build a business, and you're told that it contains everything you need, you go through upsell after upsell of other products and trainings or services that you'll need just to potentially see success with the initial purchase. Now, I've bought more than my fair share of these programs, searching for the ones that actually work. And for the most part, I've had to deconstruct the ones that mostly work and include the missing pieces to create something that actually works. I'm going to include these trainings as well to help as many people build sustainable wealth without all the extra headaches and expenses. We're going to tackle all of this and more through the Ascend You channels and give everyone the best chance at transcending the poverty consciousness that holds so many prisoners. And by doing this, we're going to help eliminate poverty, eliminate the need for social welfare, help to eliminate the majority of mental health issues, eliminate addictions, help the economy flourish, and build stronger, more financially independent families. Adults will pass on their knowledge and mindsets to their children. Our children will be better prepared for their own futures and not be at the mercy of an unstable government. Now, I can't change our government, but what I can do is change individual mindsets. When mindsets change and people understand not only themselves and gain more confidence and learn to make more effective choices and understand economics, they tend to vote a lot differently. And with any luck, we can create the next generation of politicians with integrity and financial responsibility. While I will be releasing new episodes almost daily across multiple channels and providing the coaching free globally, there will be production, distribution, marketing, and employee costs to cover. Because of this, I'm asking you to join hands with me to keep this free and accessible for all. I'm asking you to invest in a much stronger future for our kids. A future without the need for endless government taxing. A future without the need for social welfare systems, addiction services, and mental health services. a future with a stronger education system that doesn't create a culture of poverty, a future where together we create a legacy for all future generations. It's been said that in your moments of decision, your destiny is shaped. What will you do right now? The same old thing you've been doing so you get the same old results? Or will you decide to change your results for the better by investing in our future? Please click the button below and let's begin creating a new legacy on this planet.